Hi, I'm going to read Chapter 8, The Gym, but before I do, I'd like to say that because of all my joint injuries and joint pain and everything that's now gotten to the point where it makes lifting impossible, I haven't lifted for close to 3 years, and right now I don't take any andro or any DEC or any tests or anything like that, but I am proud to say still got a little something in there. Okay, so for what it's worth, I'm 60 years old and feeling pretty good. So here it is, Chapter 8, The Gym. Ever since high school, I lifted weights. I'm not a natural athlete, and I found that competing with them in gym class was a good way to get hurt. To my credit, I did beat a guy who was on the wrestling team in a wrestling match in regular gym class. I pinned the kid quickly, and my gym teacher tried to talk me into wrestling, but grappling with a boy didn't interest me. So also, we played a form of wall tennis in gym. I was undefeated in my class at this game, and I will never forget my gym teacher saying to another gym teacher, "I got a kid in my class with long hair like a girl who can beat your champion." Oh well. Anyway, universal weightlifting machines were a new invention at that time, and our school bought one. We were encouraged to use it, and not wanting to compete with sweaty boys, I elected to go to what we called the weight room and wait for class to be over. I found that when I did lift, I was stronger than I thought. I enjoyed it. I began to develop a little musculature. After high school, I worked in a grocery store where I became friends with a college-level bodybuilder. He did his workouts at home and welcomed me to join him. Again, I made small strides in muscular development. We decided to create a self-defense club and rented a building. To make a short story even shorter, the club failed, but I did learn to lift. After leaving the grocery store, I needed my own barbells. Stacie, the good wife, bought a pair of 50-pound plates and a set of squat racks for me with her own money and advised me not to hurt myself. Again, those were the salad days, my friend. I had a friend who was even skinnier than I, and in his basement we lifted. He really wasn't interested in lifting, and when I bought my first house, I got a bench, used the squat racks that Stacie had given me, and down in my own basement continued alone. When we moved to Glen Ridge, the weights came right along with me. We had a large basement, and I wanted a pool table down there. Stacie said no. Pool, she said, is a game practiced by the lower element of society. She didn't want her children playing a low-class game. The basement had become my domain, just as it had been for Stacie's father. My stereo, the trinkets of my childhood, and my weights were not for her house. Eventually, I opened my own auto body shop. One Sunday at my shop, a young but big muscular dude rolled in and was just sick over the tiny accident he had with his brand new car. He bent the bumper a little and got a little bit of yellow paint from an intrusion barrier pole on it. I told him that we probably could fix it right then. He was like a hurt puppy. I remember him groaning, "Please do something." I got a little rubbing compound and rubbed the paint from the pole off of his bumper. He was ecstatic. Next, I loosened a few bolts and told him, "Grab the bumper and twist it with all of your might." The big son of a bitch almost tore it off the car. "Whoa," I said, "what the hell are you doing?" He said, "You said all my might." I looked back at him, realizing my mistake. "Ah, no," I said, "I meant with all my might," and flexed my arm, which was about the third size of his. He laughed, and he bent the bumper into position while I cranked the bolts back down. He asked, "What do I owe you?" I told him, "Come back when you do some real damage. This one's just goodwill." He was stunned. "You don't want me to pay you?" he asked. I told him that the little fix was no big deal and that we were just two guys taking away the sting a moment of his bad luck. We shook hands, and he said, "Man, you've got my business for life." Shortly thereafter, another big dude came rolling down my driveway with an old beat-up van. The situation was that he owned the gym that was across the highway. The gym was set back from the road, and you could drive past it every day without ever noticing it was there. The guy applied for a sign out by the road, but was turned down. He must have went before that board, with the materials that you use. Anyway, his idea was to print the name of the gym on the side of the van and park it out by the road. This was something that the town would allow. So here was this rolling piece of junk. All he wanted was that it be white all over so they could have it lettered. It was rough. That even though he probably could have paid $100 to Mako, he gave the job to me for $600. I liked the guy, so I went to my shop's junk pile and found a grill that was almost like new. His van had none. I also found 2 pairs of wheel covers, one for the right side, one for the left. You don't see both sides at once. I roughed out some dents, sandblasted some rust, and painted the thing with leftover white paint that I dumped from pint and quart cans until I had about a gallon of every car white. When the guy saw the van, he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it was his. He said, "Gee, maybe we could actually use this truck for errands and stuff." He couldn't believe that I threw in the grill and the wheel covers, and he asked me if I ever went to the gym. I told him that I had family obligations and had no money for such things. I told him that I lifted in my basement. He said, "Well, see that gym across the street? You have a lifetime paid membership. Stop on the way over tonight and tell Diane to put you in the computer." I didn't even own a gym bag or proper gym clothes. I began stopping at the gym on my way home. Remember, migraine and GERD had sidelined my bodybuilding in the past. My migraine medication was allowing me to do something that I'd always wanted to do. I loved it. So in I went, very reticent at first. The gym had a social dynamic that I grasped right away. Essentially, pretty girls up in the front on the machines in the window, ugly dudes with barbells in the back. I started just back of the front. I floated from the back off the machines to the front to the barbells. The guys and a few of the girls in the back were really hardcore lifters. I always liked squats. My legs were strong, and at one point, at 170 pounds with a 32-inch waist, I was able to full squat 350 pounds of free weights. At that time, I could do 18 military chin-ups. The squat racks were in the back. Once, back in the power racks, I was doing my chin-ups, and a guy from the New York Jets was doing squats right next to me. He was doing 800 pounds. He saw me looking at him and asked, "What, are you impressed?" I said, "You're doing 3 times what I could realistically do." And he said back, "How many chins did you just do?" I told him 18. He shook his head and smiled. He says, "We're all built differently. I would need a ladder to get up there." He smiled, nodded, and went back to his work. I'll never forget that moment. I went back to the power racks thereafter with confidence. Well, one day, I was working out there when some college dudes home for the summer came in and took over the room like they owned it. They were big and they were loud. I didn't want to be pushed out. I ignored them. They were just feeling their oats. Suddenly, one of them said, "Hey, I know you. You're that guy who fixed my car." He then told everybody in the place how I had given him a hand on the Sunday afternoon. He was laughing now, but told everybody how I had saved him from a world of embarrassment. He turned to his friends and said, "This guy's with us." Then he turned to me and said, "I owe you one. You're going to take your workout up a notch. Get ready for some pain." That's another fond memory. Stacie disparaged the gym. She characterized the gym rats as pathetic, narcissistic lowlifes. Most of them were cops and attorneys and business people. Hey, maybe she was right. I went anyway, despite her scorn. One day, I took my little daughters with me. I had a friend there named Lana who was a competitive gymnast. she fell in love with Siobhan on sight. She took the girls in the gymnastics room and played with them while I did my workout. The girls had a ball. When I was done, Siobhan went to the computer at the front desk and pulled up Lana's membership info. The owner, the guy who had me paint his van, laughed when he saw Siobhan in action and said, "I think she's smarter than the girls we have working here." My girls went home happy and told their mother what we had done. Sorry to say, after hearing from Stacie, we never did it again. Anyway, these chapters that are about me aren't there because it's about me. Remember, much as this is everybody's story, and I really want my children to know these things, so this getting to know Fred part is pretty much more than anything aimed at them, although I am surprised at the reaction from people about these human elements. A lot of people want to read this for the politics or the courtroom thing or the contractual thing or whatever it may be, but I'm pretty happy with the reactions I'm getting from people in general over these reminiscent chapters. Anyway, thanks again for watching. You know I'm Fred. You know the book is Hotsy Totsy Feminazi. Be back again soon with Chapter 9.